Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, forget the simple story you might have heard about, everyone wanting revolution. Today, we're really diving into the American Revolution, specifically unpacking the huge differences between the American Loyalists and the Patriots. Our mission here is pretty straightforward. Give you a clear, quick sense of their core beliefs, what they were worried about economically, and the political views that basically split the colonies right down the middle. And it really was a split. I mean, estimates suggest only maybe 40 to 45% of Americans were actually patriots pushing for independence. You had a pretty solid chunk, 20 to 30%, who were loyalists, totally against it. And then everyone else was kind of caught in the middle, just trying to stay out of it.
Yeah, it was far from unified. It was practically a civil war brewing before the actual war. And that division, it really came down to fundamental ideas about identity. The Patriots, their core argument was about rights. They felt that British laws, things like taxes without their consent, or having soldiers quartered in their homes, well, they saw it as violating their basic rights as Englishmen.
Okay, so rights were key for the Patriots. What about the Loyalists then?
Well, for Loyalists, their identity was wrapped up in being British subjects. They absolutely opposed independence. Many hoped right up to the end for some kind of peaceful solution, reconciliation with the king.
But it wasn't just ideas floating around, right? These groups weren't spread out evenly across the colonies.
No, not at all. Geography and, frankly, wealth played a really big part. Patriots tended to be concentrated up in the northern colonies, especially New England. Think Massachusetts, that strong tradition of self-government really fueled things there.
Okay, Massachusetts makes sense. And the Loyalists.
Loyalists often had, well, more skin in the game, you could say. Wealthy landowners, Anglican clergy, people with strong business or political ties to Britain. You found a lot of them in places like New York City and also down in the southern colonies. For them, the idea of separating was just unthinkable. Treason, even. There's this quote from a loyalist that sums it up. "We are all English people and owe allegiance to the same king. To separate would be cutting ourselves off from all we hold dear." It was deeply personal.
It really hits home how personal it was. I mean, it literally tore families apart. You mentioned Benjamin Franklin earlier. He's the iconic patriot, right? But his own son, William.
Yeah, William Franklin. He was the royal governor of New Jersey and stayed a staunch loyalist right through it all. A huge, painful split in probably the most famous family of the era.
So how did people on each side justify such completely opposite stances? What was the core patriot argument for going it alone?
For patriots, it boiled down to self-determination. They started seeing themselves differently, like saying, we're Americans now, not English people. They argued they'd already shown they could manage their own affairs, their own business. They wanted freedom politically, sure, with representation, but also economically.
Economically? How so?
They demanded the freedom to trade with anyone we please instead of being locked into Britain's mercantile system. They felt held back.
Okay, so freedom, self-governance, open trade. That must have sounded absolutely terrifying to the Loyalists, especially the wealthy ones.
Oh, absolutely terrifying. For Loyalists, stability was paramount, often driven by their financial interests. They pushed back hard, arguing separation would be disastrous for business. Britain wasn't just the government, it was their primary market, a huge, reliable place to sell colonial goods. And critically, the British Navy protected their trade routes on land as well as at sea.
Right. Protection and a guaranteed market. Losing that would be a huge risk.
A massive risk. And it wasn't just about money. Loyalists genuinely feared societal collapse. They saw Britain as the only force maintaining law and order. They warned that without British authority, things would just descend into chaos, into mob rule. They actually predicted that if the colonies broke away, people will be killed and property destroyed.
So it's this fundamental clash. Patriots wanting self-determination, rights, freedom, versus Loyalists prioritizing stability, security, and the economic protection that came with being part of the British Empire. Freedom versus order.
Exactly. And that patriot desire for freedom came with accepting an incredible amount of risk. You have to remember the stakes here. There was a Loyalist writer, Charles Inglis, who basically warned the Patriots, look, Britain hasn't even really started fighting yet. She hasn't exerted her power.
Oof.
Yeah. He predicted that pushing for independence would lead straight to ruthless war with all its aggravated horrors.
Wow. That really puts it in perspective.
It does. It makes you think about the immense courage, or maybe, from another perspective, the sheer recklessness it took for the Patriots to push forward, knowing that potential destruction was the predicted outcome, even if they won.
A huge gamble, truly. Something to really ponder what drives people to risk everything for an idea. Thanks for unpacking that with us.
Absolutely. It's a crucial part of understanding where America came from.